Okay, this is video 2 of the weekend update. Going to start with Apple, and this is stock earnings come out Tuesday. I'd recommend to stay away from there if you're trying to play a potential move on Apple. I really have no recommendation. The only thing I can say is we are at what could be potential support. You had a big spike down on what looked like the 20th of March, and we are holding, well, we're at those levels, and we've bounced one time off those levels recently. So, I mean, if you wanted to play it and Apple holds this 570 level or so by Tuesday prior to the bell, you can put on, some type of option spread that makes sense for you. Just don't get your head taken off. So, let's go on to something more interesting. Medifast, after this decent pop, what we're seeing now is a pullback with declining volume. That's positive. So what we're looking for is a positive close, and then I would recommend getting back into this stock for a press up to potentially new highs. Pfizer, this was a name that I recommended when it was at the bottom end of the range, right at the 50-day, placing a stop under the 50-day. That's worked. I still continue to think this works. Look at this huge volume that's occurred. This looks like a potential rally out of this huge volume, which means Pfizer is going to go discover a new price, which is a good thing. 4% dividend. This is a name that you can just sell, do a covered call strategy against, or a cash secured put, something like that. Travelers Company, this is Dow Component, recommended it back on the mid-April when it was still in this range. Breaking out, continues to go. Coming into what could be potential resistance, a 64 level, 52-week high. I'd recommend taking some profits there just to be disciplined. But at the same time, this could be one that continues to go higher. American Electric Power, 5% dividend, bouncing off the 50-day, the point of control for the year. I think this is one that you can, just like Pfizer, accumulate sell calls against, try to increase your annualized returns to around 20%, which isn't too bad on a company like this. You have some capital gains, some premium from selling calls, and then the dividend, and that's kind of how that works. Polaris, this was a name. Unfortunately, I barely have anything left in this, but I was recommending this down. I want to say it was in the mid to high 50s in this range. Maybe it was. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, does it? What matters is it's making a new 52-week high. If you continue to stay long this name, that's awesome. But what you have here right now is the range is getting smaller and smaller. You're looking for either a breakout to the upside or a breakdown. I would have to say I doubt this is the end for this name, but if I had more skin in this, I would definitely be taking some profits up here. This has been a really nice trade, and as far as percentage-wise, since we've gotten involved, about 40% gains, so that's nothing to be ashamed of. Johnson & Johnson, this is just kind of a safe play, but you're down at the value area low for the year. I think, when has this not been right to accumulate on the lower end of the 60s? This is a 4 or 5% dividend payer. It's one you can sleep with at night, and I recommend the same thing. Once it gets back up to the mid-60s, sell some upside calls and, try to collect more yield. Because this is a name, it's such a slow mover that you can do all right and not really worry. So it's just something I recommend. Not pop. How about some ConocoPhillips? There we go. Alright, ConocoPhillips. This is at the point of control for the year. 150-day moving average, 200 right here. what you'd be looking for is a bounce. Still believe in this name, still think it can work. Uh, so we're just looking for a bounce off these levels. Now with that said, if it doesn't bounce and it fails, then this breakout was kind of a fake out and it was right to be a seller. So just something to be aware of. Alright, Seattle Genetics. This is a speculative play, but it has a very high short interest. How high? Well, this is from shortsqueeze.com, and what I do sometimes, if I want to know the short interest, you just type it in here, and it says 26 days to cover. So there you have it, and you're going off the 200, the 50, the 150, the point of control for the year. I mean, this looks like it has some juice. Your stop goes below 18, so you do have a pretty decent sized stop, but at the same time, this could jump $3 or $4 without much trouble. It could make new highs. If we zoom out a little bit on a weekly chart, if I can, there we go. We've been consolidating really for the last 2 years or so. You have some higher lows working, and I mean, if you connect these two highs, it really doesn't do much for you, but if you generally connect the highs, we have this going on, and with 26 days to cover, you could get a very nice pop to the upside, and you can see even on a weekly chart, your point of control is right at these levels. So I think you put a stop under last week's low, which is last week's low is 18, and so that would, I mean, 17.95. You don't have to put it much lower than that, and you kind of go from there and see if this works out for you. So really, I'm kind of staying away from the high beta names because I do think there's going to be a flight to quality. It's just my opinion. I'd rather play it safe than recommend and everyone get their head ripped off. So stay tuned for video 3, which is on some currencies and currencies and commodities, stuff that you can look out for.